Mira Business FM, where business comes to talk.
This is the Morning Drive. It's Mira Business FM with me, Tim Elliott, and the week's business headlines now. Siddesh Mayekar is with me. He is a freelance financial journalist of some repute and standing. Siddesh, good to see you again. Good to have you here.
Thank you for having me again. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Lots to talk about today, as there always is. End of the week, and I think, judging by some of the points that you sent through, the big headline really is Saudi Arabia implementing a new legal framework, and this means that from this month, if you are a foreigner to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, that's you and me and lots of other people, we can now buy property.
Exactly, property and even stocks for that matter. From February 1st, foreigners can go and buy stocks on Tadawul because earlier they had something called as qualified foreign investors, which has been removed totally, and now the access is open to everyone, pretty much. Yeah.
It's a huge change. So let's start with the real estate law. It opens residential, opens commercial, industrial, agricultural property ownership. So it's wide-ranging, now open to foreigners. There are some conditions there, of course, restrictions in certain cities, but it marks a pretty big shift, doesn't it? And it seems like the start of 2026, you mentioned that foreigners can now invest in the stock market, or at least directly in the stock market. It marks a pretty big shift for a new year.
Yeah, exactly. The country is opening up. It has been steadily opening up over a period of time. We saw that through various measures that the government took to open up the kingdom, and now it's the turn of the residential and commercial property market, just to get the boost in terms of demand, because there's supply. There's enough ample land in Saudi Arabia. It's the biggest country in the GCC. There is too much of supply, and how do I get people go and buying a share in property there? So this is the best way to get an entry. The first time entry into the commercial market, pretty much what Dubai did, many years ago, and look where it is today.
Well, I know. I mean, it's funny. We talk about this. We're talking real estate with a couple of people this week on the program, and my observation is always it's not really so much that this has happened or this is going on or these are the figures. My issue is I can't keep up with what's going on in Dubai, with what's going on in the UAE. I cannot keep track of the developments, but because of that, it makes me think, Saudi Arabia is going to be a similar situation, and pretty soon.
Pretty soon, absolutely. We don't know what's in store. Maybe in a few years down the line, you might have property developers from here going to Saudi. We have already seen people queuing up. And there's a law that has been passed by the government that you cannot keep your land empty. The owners of the land cannot keep their land empty, otherwise they'll be taxed.
Yeah,
so all efforts are out in the open in terms of opening up the market, getting that foreign influx of money coming in, boosting the kingdom. And that there has not been a better time to be in Saudi Arabia and really buying up property or buying up stocks there.
Do you know what? That's a very good point as well. We were talking about that tax yesterday. If you do own land in Saudi Arabia and you don't develop it in some way, lots of different ways of developing the land, of course, that could apply, but it's a 10% on the value of the land, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's a hefty tax. So that's going to have an effect. The other side of this is, of course, foreign nationals from February the 1st able to invest in the stock market directly, the Tadawul all-share index. Significant, I think, liberalisation step. It's been possible to invest in Saudi equity markets, or the Saudi equity markets, since about 2015 under certain conditions, but the restrictions really lifted, and authorities, I suppose, hoping to reinvigorate trading. It wasn't a very good year last year. The market's down, isn't it?
Yeah, markets were down 13%.
13%.
Yeah, and no better time than ever to really allow foreigners to come in and invest in Saudi Arabia. given the sheer need for foreign inflows. We have seen that coming through residential or commercial property market. Another manifestation is through the stock market. Remember that in 2025, Abadnil, September, foreign inflows were pegged at about $150 billion. So when the market is wide open for everyone, imagine the amount of inflows that you would have in the stock market, boosting liquidity, boosting the bid-ask spread, boosting easiness in terms of buying and selling in the market. So that's another big step that they've taken in terms of opening it up to foreign investors.
Well, activity breeds activity, doesn't it? It's
Exactly.
Really as simple as that. What does it mean for the wider region, do you think? Because, I mean, this is it's a big deal. And I think to lots of people it follows hot on the heels of what has happened here in the UAE for this region. But how do you think it just extend it a little bit wider? What does it mean for the GCC?
For the GCC, it's good news because all are part of the MSCI Emerging Market Index. Yeah. They have been getting those passive inflows anyway, right? The GFM, the ADX, and now even Tadawul got added to the MSCI Emerging Market Index a few years ago. So they are going to command more inflows of capital, money coming in. Now we have to see that in global context. How attractive GCC is compared to the rest of the world in terms of the risk and return trade-off, because we have another, which obviously we're going to talk later about it. The South American markets are also opening up because after the Venezuela incident, people are taking that part of the world very seriously because apparently it's going to be market friendly. So we have to see that in global context, in terms of where the oil prices are, how it's going to benefit the local economy. At the end of the day, the steps are on to diversify the economies away from oil, but still they're oil dependent, right? We have Aramco, we have ADNOC, we have all the flagship companies in the oil sector in this part of the world. So at the end of the day, economies are oil dependent. And oil at $60 to $70 per barrel, would it make sense for customers, for clients, or for investors to come and park their money here? So it's part of the global story, how the positioning will happen compared to the rest of the world. But it's good news in terms of inflow of capital, in terms of where the oil prices are, in terms of these economies being dollar denominated at the end of the day, right? That means there is no currency risk at that the investors will have to take, on the appreciation side or depreciation side. If it's appreciation, it's better for the investors. So there are multiple factors at play, but in all, it's going to be a very positive, step in the right direction for inflows to come in, for foreign inflows to come in, and really, boosting the liquidity in the market.
And I think it marks a change really for Saudi Arabia as well. We were talking about this yesterday. It's a change in terms of, as soon as you open up, it's that acceptance that, we're taking the country in a slightly different direction. It reinforces, I think, what we've seen in very recent years in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are more steps which have been planned, which we are not aware of, in the making. But really, this is the boost in terms of investor confidence, confidence across asset class, real estate plus, stock market investors as well.
Okay, so wait and see situation, I suppose. Let's see how things transpire over the year. Here's a second story. I got to be honest with you, Bitcoin, I don't really keep up with, and I very often struggle with the jargon. So I'm handing over to you here. I tell you what I did. You sent a few bullet points ahead of today. These are some of the interesting stories to talk about that have happened this week. Bitcoin up above $90,000 US. That's the mark at the moment. So I typed into Google, why is Bitcoin going up? So, and this is why I struggle with the jargon, Siddesh. Crypto is surging due to year-ahead portfolio positioning, Q4 2025 sentiment, reset completion, deleveraging, and excess froth clearing. Meme coin sector resurgence, strong fundamentals in infrastructure evolution, and stable coin liquidity growth. I mean, come on, that is a paragraph and a half, isn't it? So, let's translate that. The market already flushed out excess risk. Investors are positioning early for the next phase. Liquidity is increasing. Risk appetite is cautiously returning. Infrastructure improvements support long-term value. So that was, and I had to translate that with AI, which I did. But Bitcoin above $90,000 to me seems positive. I hand over to you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's positive in a way. And now, interesting thing that has happened, over a period of time is that Bitcoin and crypto assets have been looked at the same lens with as far as gold and silver is concerned.
Yeah.
And in fact, silver was more volatile than Bitcoin.
Of late, particularly.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were blaming Bitcoin all this while that that's the most volatile asset class to be in. But look at this. Look at 2025 and what 2026 has done. Yesterday, silver dropped like $15 an ounce from like 85 to about $70 per ounce. So look at the massive shift in terms of what was considered to be normal now doesn't hold true, because silver came up and sprang a surprise saying that I'm the most volatile. Now come on, Bitcoin, what's in store with you. Now at the same time as we talk this, there has been institutional money that has come in Bitcoin through ETFs. So that is lending a lot of support as far as Bitcoin is concerned. In terms of not witnessing the huge price movement, the daily gyrations in prices in terms of volatility. So that is one positive thing that Bitcoin has seen. And if you're a Bitcoin trader, you would get bored. You would get bored looking at the price movement there because investors and traders love volatility, right? That's where they make their money. If it is just moving, sideways or in tight range, you wouldn't make money in those circumstances, right? So it's investors' delight. So the crux of the matter is that gold and silver benefited. Bitcoin didn't for most parts of last year, but it's kind of gaining momentum now.
Okay, and is that a shift in? What's that shift in? Is that sentiment? Is that positioning of Bitcoin? I can't get a grip on why there is this change now. When I saw your headline that you sent in, because I really don't keep up. What is this shift? Structural shift? I don't understand.
Maybe it's too early to say it's a structural shift because we'll have to see the data points to really come to a conclusion if it's a structural shift.
Okay.
But the important takeaway is that Bitcoin obviously is in the reckoning of things. At least the most important coins like coins such as Ethereum, such as the other coins that you have, they're in the reckoning of things, and they are looked in the same breath as far as your traditional asset classes are concerned. So which was not the case a few years ago. They were wanting to be in the reckoning of things, but now we are in 2026 that people are playing Bitcoin and the other crypto assets as part of the jigsaw puzzle. Whether they go overweight on gold and silver, underweight on Bitcoin, or vice versa, which is good news for Bitcoin because that would mean more money and more capital inflows.
Well, it does. Yeah, that's quite right. It's easy to forget, isn't it, that in not that long ago, pre-COVID, really, 2018, 2019, it was the Wild West.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Bitcoin was what on earth? It was a free for all time. It's a very, very short space of time. Another story I know that you've been following is US stocks hitting record highs. It has been, quite simply, a record-breaking start to the year.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's expected to continue because of the policies that Donald Trump has been implementing. Now he just increased his defense budget by 50% to $1.5 trillion.
And I saw that. I
Yeah,
know, yeah. So
and
defense companies have it's
yeah,
been a
defense
heyday.
companies have shot up. Look at look at what he's doing in Venezuela. So he's going to sell 30 million barrels of oil, 30 to 50 million barrels of oil in the market at the market rate. And going to give the Venezuelan oil assets to U.S. companies. So market has to factor that in, and U.S. energy stocks already are because of that. So it's a big boost for the stock market, obviously, which is the primary factor has been politics, but it's a spillover impact of what has played out really in the dead night at the start of the year.
In Venezuela. Yeah, I mean, investors seem to kind of have shrugged off Venezuela, really, in lots of ways, I think.
Yeah, for investors, they need long-term certainty. They don't need uncertainty in the markets. They need certainty. They hate uncertainty. So what Venezuela episode has brought to the table for investors uh, is there is certainty in the market now. There would be U.S. administration that would come in and sell the stockpile of oil,
Mm.
and then give it over to the U.S. companies, uh, and the whole the floor is open for the U.S. companies to invest and to drill out oil, and God knows how long it will last. We don't know the exit plan, right? Because we are not sure about the entry plan. How are we going to be sure about the exit plan? So we don't know how long this is going to last, and really changing the dynamics of really the oil trade, of the South American investor sentiment, markets. A lot is at lot is changed. It's a difficult time to be a market analyst, to really keep pace. Something that you spoke earlier about, to keep pace with. We are struggling to keep pace with the happenings in UAE and Saudi, and now we have to do this in terms of keeping pace.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, it was ever thus, wasn't it? This is a problem we run against. I just can't keep up with real estate here, let alone trying to follow what's going on in the continent of South America. One of the things I think in the US that I think is interesting to point out, what we've got on at the moment is the Consumer Electronics Show. CES is on
Yeah.
in Vegas at the
Vegas.
moment.
Yeah.
We've had Jensen Huang launching the new super chip, the Vera Rubin AI super chip. So lots of excitement about that. Other AI processors are coming up, but I think this kind of super chip has this extra level of storage technology in there. So what we've seen is SanDisk, Seagate, Micron, Western Dynamics, all up. SanDisk up nearly 30%. Over that news as well. So I think there's a lot of excitement there. So I suppose that has an impact on the market because big tech has started 2026 with this kind of huge statement, and going forward, the better the chip, the better the storage, the better the AI.
Absolutely, it's been an extension of sentiment from 2025, now when the whole episode about selling AI chips to China, happened, and then Trump came in, and then he said he's going to charge a tax on it. So yeah, it's such an extension of. So that's the story that I was talking about earlier. Defense stocks, energy stocks, and obviously AI was a theme that we carried on from 2025. So it's part of the growing universe of bullish stock market, and that's really I think manifestation of making America great again playing out in the open in the Dow Jones Industrial Index. It hitting record high. So so that's how the story is playing out.
Well, it is. I mean, just to give it some perspective here, record-breaking start to the year. Some of the figures here: the Dow crossing 49,000, Nasdaq up, just over 0.5%, S&P 500 at a new high up 0.6%. So similar levels. So it really has been, in terms of, this is the first week of the year. Normally, we're just about kicking into gear by the first Friday of the year. You're just about out of the kind of New Year slumber. So it's been interesting. The other thing I know you wanted to bring up is copper surging as well.
Yeah, that has not caught attention of people. It's about
Well, it
trading
hasn't at all. I would never think to talk about, not being rude to you, but I would never really think to talk about copper, but it needs to be discussed.
Yeah, I had been a commodities report I was talking to you about earlier in Thomson Reuters. So copper was at 8,000 in 2007-8 when I started tracking it, and now it is at 12,000. It was languishing. It's pretty much the story about silver. Silver and copper, they were both languishing at about $30 an ounce and 8,000 per ton, back in the day, and it wasn't moving at all. Imagine the plight of the commodities investor who's got his portfolio into like few assets like gold, copper, and silver, and then it wasn't a bull market for them then, no. Right? So now here comes 2026 when copper is out from its slumber and really hitting records in the sorts. That's basically due to the demand supply gap and the usage of copper in industrial use. Yeah, so that has really been the story of the day. As far as even silver is concerned, the demand is about 1.2 billion ounces, and the supply is about 1 billion. So there's a gap. How do I fill that gap? And it's mined material. I can't create I can't create silver out of the blue, right? And even if you use silver as a byproduct of other industrial metals, the amount of resource in the world is limited, right? I can't fudge numbers there unless I get some recycled silver that comes in the market. So similarly, the story with copper and with global growth, edging forward, with more consumption coming in from industrial use or from direct use, we would see this rally strengthening, maybe to 15,000 per ton.
There's a prediction for you. But I mean, it is the case, isn't it, that if you've got, I don't know, your grandmother's old silver teapot at the moment, it's worth more than it was a month ago. The thing about copper is, I was sat thinking, well, I know so little. I know it's used in electronics, it's used in wiring, I know it's used for plumbing. I know there are some industrial uses for copper, but I just hadn't considered it. What else is copper used for? What's it important for?
Mostly for industrial use, as you have rightly alluded to, mostly for industrial use. But when it comes to the commodities market, it's a different ballgame altogether because you have sentiment playing out, right? We have silver, which is which is more volatile than Bitcoin, as we discussed earlier. And then in the same frame, when you see in the same frame, you even have copper. So there is a spillover impact in a way, right? We've seen the rally in gold, we've seen rally in in silver. So why not copper? So that has been the spillover impact of this commodities rally, which was long due and unexpected.
We're going to get some more details this morning. Jeff Rhodes is going to be here this morning talking gold, who I know he's for me, he's the gold guy, also the silver guy. Let's see if he's the copper guy when he comes in a little bit later this morning, Mira Business FM. We need to talk a little bit more about Latin America, I think, and you are pointing out quite rightly, investors are bullish on Latin America, as if recent geopolitical events make any difference at all, really. But I suppose there's kind of a renewed interest, a renewed confidence as people look forwards.
Exactly. Investors love the smell of money, right? They don't care about your politics back home.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what their mandate is, right? As in, if they get into, for them, politics is noise. They don't care about, they don't care about anything else. They just care about money, and for them, the mandate is to really generate that alpha. So how do I generate that alpha, right? So one thing, one silver lining, so to say, in this particular whole episode of the Venezuela incident has been that, as I alluded to earlier, that markets love certainty. So markets love policy certainty. They don't want flip-flops in terms of government decisions and other policy actions. So that is come back to the market, to the Latin American market. That sense of sanity, that sense of market friendliness approach from the Trump administration. Something that we discussed earlier also, right? Where $20 billion was given to Argentina as a currency swap deal by the U.S. So that's another factor that is playing out. So people are really looking at South America and Latin America, as a continent very seriously in terms of markets yeah, let's see how the story plays out.
And there's another factor, I think, as well. Lots of, if you read economists online or listen to commentators at the moment, early 2026 is really showing, I think it feels very optimistic at the moment. It's been a record-breaking start to the year. People looking ahead. There is so much uncertainty, but there's kind of a cautious, more than a cautious optimism, I think would be a fair way to characterize it. And there's another thing. If you look at the world's largest economy, the individual tax cuts from the big, beautiful bill that President Trump has passed, that's another thing, I think, which is likely to kind of fuel the optimism. The benefits from the Fed rate cuts that I think we're going to start to see taking more effect. And again, we're back to those two things are very much about sentiment, I think. There's a real aspect of clawing some money back, personally, but there's a real feeling of optimism from that, perhaps. And markets are very much about sentiment, as you say.
Yeah, markets is a barometer of the market sentiment, and
sure,
and that has that's a reflection that we have seen in performance of stock markets or commodities market, and other asset classes. To your point that about the tax cut and Fed cuts. Let's not forget that we have elections coming up in Cuba and in Brazil and and in Colombia. So that's another good news for the Latin American stock market investors or general market participants to really look forward to and see look Latin American market in a different prism altogether because of the events that happened in the first week of January and see some sanity there as far as markets are concerned.
Okay, not a business story per se, really, this, but I think it's going to have a massive effect in the UAE. And I mentioned this to you before we came in this morning. A massive effect from a business and a personal perspective. But Etihad Rail announcing 7 new stations. This was yesterday. So we've now got 11. So that means, fully connecting passengers across the UAE. So new stations from Sila, which is near the Saudi border, in the southwest of the country, all the way to Dade, and operations beginning this year as well. So, again, another positive development.
Yeah. So I look from the stock market, or I look from the investor perspective.
Please.
I would see what will be the impact on real estate prices at those tops.
I thought you might do that, Siddesh. And it's going to have an effect. How do you quantify that effect? Can you quantify that effect at this point?
No. So this is once in a generation project, right? Similar to what Britishers did in India in terms of setting up the railway network, and we are still we are still reaping the fruits still today in terms of the vast connectivity that we have from the north and the south and the east and the west of the country.
Railways are great.
Railways are absolutely great. UK is a great prime example of obviously where how that led to the Industrial Revolution in 1930s in terms of railways.
But it'd be one of those things, won't it? In the UAE we're a car nation, really, and that's fair, and the road network's great. Nobody denies that. The bus network has become something else. The water taxi network is great. There are lots of interconnectedness. The metro, the tram, but the railway is going to be a huge difference. In a year or two's time, it will be, how on earth did we get by without this? It's that, I think that kind of groundbreaking.
It is definitely. As I said, it's a once-in-generation kind of project to undertake. It will help in movement of industrial goods from one end to the other end of the to Fujairah port, maybe, and yeah. So that's how it's going to be.
The network's going to cover from Sila, which is close to the border with Saudi Arabia in the west-southwest, all the way to the northeast, Dade and Fujairah. And then the branch off, kind of under Abu Dhabi, south of Abu Dhabi, is going to serve Medina Zayed and Mazara as well. So 11 stations so far announced. Last thing, just very briefly, it's the 1 billion followers summit that starts today. Lots and lots of interest in this. Tickets are quite pricey, has to be said. The cheap ones, 250 dirhams, I think they are.
200.
All sold out. The next level up, 700 odd. They're all gone. It's a big deal. So 3 days of, I don't know, listening to people like Mr. Beast.
Yeah, Mr. Beast is very popular among the kids, and they have a theme park of Mr. Beast in Riyadh. They recently opened one.
I've heard about it. Yeah, I've heard.
So yeah, so this has been the hotbed for all the content creators, right after COVID, because they opened the freelance visa and got content creators to this part of the world, and that's converted into a business idea of 1 billion follower summit. So yeah, 2026. We have seen this manifesting into 1 billion follower summit for all the content creators.
There's something for everybody there, I think, in lots of ways. Mr. Beast is there. Look, there are all kinds of people, food content creators, comedians, impressionists. Will Smith is in town. I know he's been here for a while. There was a Nat Geo series he's worked on. He launched that over the new year. He's there this weekend. But there's also, obviously, the business aspect. I know Mohammed Alabar of Imar is one of the main speakers, delegates, if you like. So there's a lot going on. It's happening all around DIFC, Emirates Towers, Museum of the Future. Lots happening over the weekend till Sunday. That's kind of a mini roundup of the business news of the week. Siddesh Mayekar is a freelance financial business journalist based here in Dubai. It's always a pleasure to see you. Good.
Thank you for coming again.
Good to have you here, Siddesh.
You,
appreciate it. It's the Morning Drive. It's Mira Business FM. A like, a subscribe is always appreciated. Wherever you find us, wherever you join us from, get in touch. Let us know what you think. And everything that we do is available online to listen or watch again. And it's podcast too. Wherever you get your podcast, just search Mira Business FM.